It's called Free Tax USA. That's what we use. And let me just kind of like open one up for you and just kind of give you a little start here so that you can see this. There's a whole bunch of videos I've already created on this, but we're going to do it again. We're going to do this over and over and over again until you guys are comfortable with it. Till you know how to do this and you feel good about it. All right, can you guys see this?
I can.
Okay. All right. So when you start getting into this, this is the Free Tax USA. All right. So this is the one, the refund I got coming for $1,027,703. Okay. So it's been accepted by the IRS. The Georgia refund has been accepted. So now I'm waiting for them to send the money. Right. So you start off with the personal stuff, right? It's just, I'm going to go through this quick so that we're not here for the rest of the night. So this is just your basic information, right? Your status, dependents, if you got kids, PIN. Yeah, off to a good start. All right. So then you go into income. If you got W-2 income, you put it in. So mine's all investment. This is all 1099 shit, right? So last year in 2024, Lee, you'll enjoy this. This is the court case, 166,566 and $665, right? So that's what I put in for 1099-Bs to claim the court case, right? Remember this. What is a 1040? The IRS sees it as a claim form, right? So what form do you use to claim the money you're owed? 1040, right? So that's what this is. That's what you have to do. So you go through this, the 1040, right? So this is the actual my 1099 income, business income, right? So this is the Schedule C, sole proprietor stuff, right? So this is where you offset, right? So I got $1 million here, and then I offset it by 865,000 in the business income, right? Original issue, these are my OIDs. 520,000 last year because I claimed a bunch of loans from a dealership that I didn't get a vehicle from. So that's that. Again, I'm just going to go through this quick because we're going to go through this in more detail next week, right? 865,000 capital. A lot of this stuff it does automatically for you, so you don't have to sweat it, right? So then your wages and your income, and then it shows your business loss. And then you go to your deductions, right? What's your different deductions that you made? And then when you get into the miscellaneous, right? It's just, there's not a lot of crap that I do in here, right? But a lot of you will have some of the stuff in here, like, you know, estimated tax payments. If you do the ES, you'll put them in there, right? So then the summary kind of breaks it all down. It'll do it for a couple years or whatever. And then you can download it before you're like all finished, right? You can go to the bottom and you can say view tax return and it'll bring it up for you, right? So, and then final steps. This is just how you end it, right? And then you pay whatever you have to pay is over here. But if you are using it and like getting a big refund, you can have any of the fees come off of the refund, right? So then you send it in, like I sent this one in, right? I sent this one in. Remember I showed you at the beginning? I don't know where it went. It was some kind of like right here. So I sent this one in, it was automatically accepted. Then you have to take that after it's accepted, and then you have to print it off and you have to attach all the crap that you need to attach, right? So like if you have a bunch of 1099 forms or if you have a bunch of like instruments and things like that you need to add to it, then what you're going to do is after you've already sent it in, you're going to make copies of everything. You're going to stamp copies on everything, right? Because if you send it in without it copies, like it's in red stamps that say copy on it, they're going to say that you sent in an extra return and they're going to deduct money out of your refund. It's like $200 or something like that. So every time you send a refund in, you just keep sending them in, they dock you, they charge you for that, right? So if you're going to send a duplicate in, you have to stamp copy. Just get one of those red stamps at Office Depot and just stamp copies on each copy so that they know that you're not sending another refund in or another return, that you're noticing them a copy. Okay. So anyway, that's what that is. Next week we're going to get more into the 1040s and dig deeper into that free tax USA thing because this is really important to go from the sole proprietor to the 1040 so that you understand what that is before you start getting into all the other administrative bullshit, right? You have to understand what the basic thing of what you're supposed to be doing for the last 30 or 40 years before you can do all that other crap, right? And you got to get this solidified, right? You have to get your claim forms, your at least last 3 years of claim forms in and claim all your bonds and claim all your bank accounts and claim all that crap. You got to claim all that stuff for the last 3 years before you stop using it, right? It's just like the driver's license, right? You can't rescission a driver's license that you don't have, right? So if you have a revoked driver's license, you can't surrender it. What are you surrendering? The license you used to have? Right? So it's the same thing with the 1040s. You have to do 3 years of 1040s so that you can say, I'm current and I've paid, I've done all my old refunds. There's no deficiencies. Now I'm done. Now I'm done playing your game. And I sent back my birth certificate and I'm collapsing this state. So from here on out, the thing that you say is dead. Right? What is that scripture? Jesus with Lazarus, he says, let the dead bury the dead. You're alive. Come with me. Okay. So once you get done with the 3 years, you let the dead bury the dead, right? You just tell them to go away. And then you start filing living trust. And then you're doing the same thing, right? You're using the name and it's not the social anymore, right? Because when you take the dashes out, does anybody know what the difference between the social security number with dashes and without dashes?
Patrick Devine explains the dashes being a pass-through account. I'm not sure what that means, but um, I've heard it explained as that.
The dashes is the social security person account. So
Right,
that's the jurisdictional account. The no dashes is the set off account. That's the one, the contract trust account that Pat Devine teaches that you're supposed to take control of. That's the
right,
social without dashes.
right.
So basically, what you do on 1099s after you get done with your 3 years is you're just putting it in as an EIN, right? So instead of mine, it would be instead of the first three digits being 397, the first three digits are 39 dash the rest of the numbers, the seven numbers. right? Because then it's the EIN. And so who's the EIN? For what entity is the EIN for? The sole prop, right? So that's what you're doing. You're getting done with your 3 years. You're taking the sole prop. You're using the EIN, and then you're using the 1099s with the 1041 so that you can claim your credits at the end of the year. And you're using the living revocable trust. Once you get to that point, that's all you're doing. So I went over a lot of stuff tonight. I did a much longer meeting because we didn't do one last week. But like, are you guys all jiving here? Do you have any questions about anything?
I mean, I'm just happy to be here, man. I'm hearing every word you're saying, and I'm glad to be here.
I'm glad you're here.
Yeah,
Right. And it's just like that's what I'm trying to do. I'm just trying to connect these dots for you,
right,
right? So that you guys are doing this stuff. And it's not just like, well, you just need to fill it, you got to do W4 sandwich. You need to send in a 1040. Why? Why do I have to send in a 1040 and a W4 sandwich? Right? Like nobody ever told me that.
right.
Right. When I was following Pat Devine shit, like I must have watched 100 hours worth of videos.
Same,
Right. And then I contacted whatever his face is, Robert Robots, whatever. And I bought the Pack Divine files for like 200 bucks.
same.
Right. And
I
then I
still
went
have
through, and then I'm like, it was so overwhelming.
it.
Right. If you guys don't have it, just let me
It's
know and
crazy.
I'll share it with you. But it's like, it's overwhelming. Right.
I know the list is
There's like
crazy.
hundreds of gigs of fucking documents. And you're just like, dude, it took me like 4 months of
Uh,
videos and like going through shit. And I was like pulling my hair out. And I was like, what am I supposed to do?
right.
My buddy Mark, the guy that's like really mentored me through all this, he's like, throw it away. He's like, Pat Devine never got remedy. And I was like, what do you mean? And he's like, I've been in this for 30 years. Pat Devine never got remedy. Right. So he's like, throw it away. Right. And I was like, okay. So I kind of walked away from that. And it wasn't until I found Rourke and Christian Walters that I really started to get this. Right. And so that's why I teach you that trust that I've been showing y'all tonight. Like I learned that from Rourke. Right. And Rourke is one of the only people I know that got access, and he got a full accounting. And he even talks about it. He's like in the video audios that I share with you guys, it says right in there that when he got a full accounting, there was 74 zeros behind the number. That's how much
Jeez.
values were interacted between people in his lifetime. 74 zeros. Now we all know it's double entry bookkeeping, so the end of it was zero, right? But the both sides of the ledgers had the 74 zeros, right? And so like see, that's what this is. It's like you're like, you just I'm done. I'm done giving you 74 zeros, right? I'm done with that.
So, Kent, what did it take for you to read the whole?
What did it take for me to what?
Sorry, what did it take for? I mean, did you have to read the whole Rourke manual to finally put it together and your friend help you? I mean, I'm
Yeah.
I'm I'm not jiving, but I'm marinating. I'm soaking it in. It's not
Took me
jiving yet.
it took me it was 6 to 8 months for me to read through
Did
it
did
and go to court
uh,
cases and do all the stuff. But you don't have to do that because I'm helping you. I'm walking you through it, right? That's what we're doing in these meetings, and that's what we're doing in these different things and like the different books that I'm putting out is
yeah,
that
but I mean to really understand. Like I got to understand everything. Cross my T's, dot my I's.
right. Well, you
So
got to get focused on trust. And that's where you're going to figure that out, right? And because that's what these all these publications that I create and all the publications I give you, like that's what I did. I went through them and I dug through them, and that's why I'm trying to like share this stuff with you is because like I'm telling you how to do this. I'm telling you
yeah,
how to understand what this information is. right? And it's all mortgage.
Yeah.
A trust is a mortgage, period.
Mhm. Yeah.
What I'm teaching you how to do is get out of mortgage and get into a marriage. And not marriage
Mhm.
between people. You're
Mhm.
marrying your names. I just saw it today. I don't know if it was Lee or somebody else put it on Facebook, and it was like joinder. Does anybody really know what joinder means? That's what I'm talking about. Merger is joinder. What you're trying to do is joinder the names, the body name and the estate. You want to joinder them. You can do it through a court case. You can do it through trust. You can do it in an admin process. It depends on your state and like 100 other things. But you're going to have to keep doing stuff until you get the response that you want out of whomever, right? So, like, that's essentially what we're doing. Once we get through these like IRS forms, right? And the reason why the IRS forms are before the trust is because you need to understand how to navigate the IRS system in order to get remedy. There is only remedy in the IRS. There's not remedy anywhere else because the IRS, US Treasury, is who manages the assets of the United States. They are the ones that manage the res of the trust known as the United States Written Constitution, right? There is no version. All those people that are like, I'm IRS exempt and I don't have to pay taxes and blah, 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 they're never going to get remedy. They're never going to get anything or understand anything about what they're supposed to be doing if you're like, oh, abolish the IRS. They're your trustees. They're the ones that are doing this stuff for you, right? Now they're not your friend. Don't get me wrong here. I'm not trying to tell you that they're like whistling zippity doodah out of your asshole. But what I am telling you to do is use the system that's in front of you. It has to be there. Equity and redemption, right? We've talked about this before. It has to be there. It has to be there for you. So what I'm doing and why the IRS stuff is before the final trust thing is I'm teaching you how to administer so that when you get into the trust structure, that you know what you're supposed to be doing. You're like, oh, that's what that is, or I need to notice somebody on this. Right? Because I've already gone through notice and equity and redemption and Rourke and Judge Story and all that stuff. So when you get into the trust and you start seeing this crap and you're like, oh, that's why I'm passing consideration and so that I can pass title. Right? You don't need to like go through 6 months of reading a book about passing consideration when you know that's what it's happening. And then everybody, like, I don't know, everybody that I know that's doing this shit, they want to know about mortgages, right? Well, this is it. This is like breaking the mortgage structure down to its nuts and bolts and teaching you how it goes together and teaching you what they're doing. So once you know that, it's easy. All you got to do is like take this thing that you're going to do in the trust structure and you do that in your mortgage. And it's done deal, right? So that's what's going on. And originally I had 5 lessons, and then I had 9, and then I had 15. And then I had people in the 15 lessons that were all confused. And so I went back to the beginning and I don't know, I have so many Zoom recordings that I had to create an offline zip drive to put my recordings in. I have probably 100 hours of recordings of stuff teaching this stuff. And I keep going through it. I keep going back through all the lessons for people and teaching and showing how all this stuff works. Right? Because that's the only way. It's this repetition. You got to keep going through it. And the most important thing is God, right? You got to know the Bible, right? You can't get equity and you can't get all this stuff if you don't know the Bible. And I don't mean you got to be like a preacher where you know like the ins and outs of every spiritual concept. You got to know where in the Bible God's talking about his law, right? Proverbs, Psalms, right? Like Genesis, the creation of the trust, right? You got to be able to hit those specific areas so you know what it means, right? And so that's what I'm trying to do. That's what we're going through right now. And I appreciate everybody being here. And this is recorded, so I'm going to put it in the stuff for everybody. And if you
We
have,
appreciate you, Kent.
yeah,
Thank you.
I'm glad you guys are here tonight. And um, I know this was a lot tonight, but this is the stuff that you need to focus on. All right.
I appreciate you so much, Kent.
Thank
All right.
you.
Yep. Thanks. Have a good night. Bye.